to the pyramids in Egypt, Leonardo da Vinci's portrait of the Mona Lisa, sunflowers, the snail, the pine cone, and your fingers all have in common? The answer to this question lies hidden in a series of numbers discovered by the Italian mathematician Leonardo Fibonacci. The characteristic of these numbers, known as the Fibonacci numbers, is that each one is the sum of the preceding two numbers. Fibonacci numbers have an interesting feature. When you divide one number in the series by the number before it, you obtain numbers very close to one another. In fact, this number is fixed after the 13th in the series and is known as the golden ratio. When conducting their research or setting out their products, artists, scientists, and designers take the human body, the proportions of which are set out according to the golden ratio, as their measure. Leonardo da Vinci and Le Corbusier used this ratio in their designs. The human body, proportioned according to the golden ratio, is also taken as the basis in the Newfort, one of the most important reference books of modern-day architects. The ideal proportional relations that are suggested as existing among various parts of the average human body, and that approximately meet the golden ratio values, can be set out in a general plan. The TS ratio in the table below is always equivalent to the golden ratio. T divided by S equals 1.618. However, it may not always be possible to use a ruler and find this ratio all over people's faces, because it applies to the idealized human form, on which scientists and artists agree. The first example of the golden ratio in the average human body is that when the distance between the navel and the foot is taken as 1 unit, the height of a human being is equivalent to 1.618. Some other golden proportions in the average human body are the distance between the fingertip and the elbow, the distance between the wrist and the elbow, the distance between the shoulder line and the top of the head, the distance between the navel and the top of the head, the distance between the shoulder line and the top of the head, the distance between the navel and knee, the distance between the knee and the end of the foot. The total width of the two front teeth in the upper jaw over their height gives a golden ratio. The width of the first tooth from the center to the second tooth also yields a golden ratio. The length of face over the width of face. The distance between the lips and where the eyebrows meet over the length of nose. The length of face over the distance between tip of jaw and where the eyebrows meet. The length of mouth over the width of nose. The width of nose over the distance between nostrils. The distance between pupils over the distance between eyebrows.
Stephen Markout, was proved as a result of his 25-year-long study that human faces and bodies, designed pursuant to this ratio, are accepted as beautiful by every single person in the world. If the aspect ratio of any form is 1.618, then this form is convenient to golden mean. Perfect design.
In a study carried out between 1985 and 1987, the American physicist Bruce West and professor of medicine Ari Goldberger revealed the existence of the golden ratio in the structure of the lung. One feature of the network of the bronchi that constitutes the lung is that it is asymmetric. For example, the windpipe divides into two main bronchi, one long on the left and the other short on the right. This asymmetrical division continues into the subsequent subdivisions of the bronchi. It was determined that in all these divisions, the proportion of the short bronchus to the long was always 1/1.618. The cochlea in the human inner ear serves to transmit sound vibrations. This bony structure filled with fluid has a logarithmic spiral shape with a fixed angle of 73 degrees 43 minutes containing the golden ratio. The DNA molecule in which all the physical features of living things are stored. DNA consists of two intertwined perpendicular helixes. The length of the curve in each of these helixes is 34 angstroms and the width 21 angstroms. 1 angstrom is 100 millionth of a centimeter. 21 and 34 are two consecutive Fibonacci numbers.
Creationists do about the facts, first thing they'll do, they'll say it's just microevolution. Now I teach evolution. Alright, I never talk about macroevolution because in fact macroevolution are one and the same thing. Give enough time, you can turn anything into anything. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Alright. It's proven. You have the fossil record. It shows all the steps. Alright, so typically what the creationists do, they'll deny the existence of tens of thousands of transitional fossils. Go to a museum, look at the fossils yourself. They're there. First of all, fossils don't prove evolution. Okay? The fossil record is consistent with a story, a historical pattern. It's proven. You have the fossil record. It shows all the steps. Fossils don't prove evolution. And that's exactly what paleontology
mean anything as far as evolution is concerned. We don't need them. We got all the evidence we need to prove evolution without fossils. Forget fossils. They just aren't important. What's important is DNA. We have a very good set of bones saved from fossil records showing that the whales evolved through a long period of time from animals that were on land to animals that are in the water. Fossils don't mean anything as far as evolution is concerned. We don't need them. And to say that we're lying is disingenuous to this audience.
Losing its legs and turning into a whale is not really, that's still an example for evolution. Yeah, okay, go ahead. You can't go backwards. You can't go backwards. You can't go backwards because there's no backwards. There's go backwards for evolution. Right. Okay, there's no forward. There's no forward, there's no backward. Is there one of these days that seems change? You're a creationist, man. Everything stays the same. But now if you find many fossils in the dirt, if you find millions of fossils in the dirt, that's proof of a flood. Now that's millions.
I can't say enough how it's time that we get beyond and start focusing on the technology we have and move forward into the future so that our grandchildren can have the same lifestyle we have. And this Earth's been here 6,000 years. I know I'm going on and on, I'll shut up. It's been here 6,000 years, long before anybody had environmental laws. Somehow it hasn't been done away with. And we need to get the uranium here in Arizona so this state can get the money from it and the revenue from it, and it can be done safely, and we'll never even know the mine was there when we're done.
Imagine each amino acid needed to lift heads or tails. To work, all amino acids in the chain must be the same. In other words, all of hundreds must be, quote, lift heads about one single molecule. Of course, expanding this into an entire creature, you were talking about many thousands of consecutive coins being lift heads, something that is statistically absurd. Secondly, amino acids first form into short chains. If you imagine each amino acid component as a letter, the evolutionists would imagine a scenario that would require a computer randomly producing letters that become meaningful words. And don't forget, they still have to be all flipped heads first. Thirdly, the short chains of amino acids bond into longer chains. Picture words becoming sentences, and they have to make sense. A sentence of words randomly thrown together would usually not make sense. Now let's take that simple first step. Amino acids have to have the correct orientation. Again, like flipping heads many times in a row. If you were to consider only the number of correct flips, disregarding the words, disregarding the sentences that also have to make sense, the DNA information within a human being would make up about 500,000 pages with 5,000 letters per page. Now let me put this in perspective. If we were to imagine atoms randomly coming together to form DNA, just to get one single page of the correct orientations of amino acids would require 5,000 flips of heads in a row. Now, suppose evolution could flip a coin 5,000 times a second. That's a lot of times a second. It would still take 10 billion years just to get a single upright page of letters. But keep in mind, this is a simple example. It is a small part of the problem. We need 500,000 of these pages of upright letters or flips of heads.